Are you in a rush, would you say? In life in general, not just today or this week. The majority of us are. Our inner clock is constantly running, even if we don't consider ourselves hurried. By now, I ought to be farther along. I ought to have accomplished more. I ought to be wealthier, happier, and more successful. Life seems like a huge competition with a scoreboard buried someplace in the sky. This is where the odd thing lies. Everyone is running from the moment of their birth, even if no one can tell them the precise location of the finish line. You start to be shaped by subtle messages. Your parents evaluate your developmental milestones against those of other kids. She's getting up early. He's speaking too late. You're graded, rated, and measured in school to compare yourself to others as well as to determine whether you're learning. Life is a ladder, and you rapidly realize that. Either you climb or you fall back, and you internalize a belief at some point without even recognizing it. Your pace determines your value. You become more valued as you progress more quickly. However, this is the dilemma. Life is a race, and when you think of it as such, you miss most of it. Constant progress fixation is a strange illness. We strive for recognition, money, and promotions with the belief that life will really start when we get there. However, the farther we move away, the closer we get. It's similar to chasing the sun. The horizon will always remain the same distance away from you, no matter how far you run. In actuality, we are merely turning the wheel of discontent, even though we believe we are making progress. As though today were merely a step on the path to something better, we are exchanging the present for some idealized future. From school to work to retirement, we've been trained to think linearly, and will prevail if we can simply keep accelerating along that path. However, life is not a straight path. It is cyclical. The seasons change. The tides fluctuate. The heart beats in a rhythm of expansion and contraction rather than a straight line. You fight against life's inherent nature when you approach it like a 100-meter sprint, and the effect, weariness, exhaustion, a profound awareness that your efforts are insufficient. The harsh irony comes next. Life passes you more and more as you run. Imagine a youngster engrossed in play. Progress on the more you run doesn't concern them. No score is being kept. They are absorbed in the actual present. They are therefore completely alive. We exchange that immersion for ambition at some point. We conclude that moving forward is the main goal of life. Whom does nobody truly know ahead of? However, our mental images of the race become actual, and that is sufficient to enslave us. Missing the moment is not the only tragedy. The delusion that happiness is constantly waiting for us at the next milestone is the cause of this. When you live this way, you begin to view others as rivals rather than friends. You compare your value to theirs by looking at their income, house, and vacation time. Love and friendships can sometimes be used as transactional tools to advance in life. But you know in your heart that this is crazy. You are aware that life will not reward you with a trophy at the end, regardless of how quickly you run. Furthermore, a race that doesn't exist can't be won. What is life if it is not a race? That is the true question. And without always hurrying through it, how do you live it? You must first recognize the illusion for what it is. There isn't a definitive arrival. A culture that is addicted to achievement and speed is selling you the notion that one day you will have it all and feel whole. There are no finish lines in life, so it's not about crossing them. It has to do with each step's texture. It's about the way sunshine filters through a room in the late afternoon, the way the air feels in your lungs, and the laughs you share over coffee. You're rushing past the only genuine life you have if you're rushing past those things. What makes us run, then? Because remaining motionless is frightening. Remaining still is terrifying in part. You may experience the emptiness you've been avoiding if you pause, even for a few moments. You may be able to hear the inquiries that have been drowned out by movement and commotion. Who am I? What is it that I truly desire? For what purpose is all of this? These are difficult questions. It takes bravery to confront them. Additionally, it is far simpler to keep moving on and pursue the next objective rather than take the chance of sitting with life's uncertainties. However, life shows itself to you in that silence rather than the race. In the Deweyist tradition, There's a story of a guy who wished to cross a river. He constructs a raft, paddles it over, and arrives at the opposite shore. But since it used to serve him, he straps it to his back and carries it the rest of the way rather than getting off the raft. That raft is analogous to our fixation with progress. It may be useful to us occasionally, but if we hold on to it constantly, it becomes a burden. Knowing when to move and when to just be is a sign of true living. You don't have to rush to get by in life. You can strive for objectives without making them the only purpose of your life. Balanced involvement without preoccupation is the key. Consider asking, how deeply am I here, rather than how far ahead am I? Because amazing things happen when you stop viewing life as a race. Time slows down. The colors seem more vibrant. Discussions become more in-depth. Even the tiniest moments become significant. Then you see that there was never a place to go. This was all there was. And all along, it was sufficient. When you stop long enough to see clearly, you notice something when you're thinking about the race. Most of the race is in your mind. Indeed, there are obligations, deadlines, expectations, and outside pressures. However, comparing yourself to others is frequently the source of the unrelenting desire to get ahead. Quicksand is similar to comparison. You fall deeper and deeper the more you strive in it. You begin to feel that you should follow someone else's schedule and that their speed is ideal. You overlook the fact that no two lives are alike and that diversity and growth is what nature itself feeds on. A tree does not rush to grow taller after observing another tree's diversity and growth. Think of a forest. One tree may grow rapidly in that forest, aiming for the sun, while another may take years to fortify its roots before emerging. Both develop, both fit in, and neither falls behind. However, we've been conditioned to view ourselves as rival trees, continuously assessing our own performance. This explains why a lot of us feel like we're always running late, as though we're showing up for our own events after the festivities have already begun. However, you can't be late for your own journey. If you let it, your life will unfold precisely as it should. The problem is that the majority of us don't permit it, pushing, prodding, and berating ourselves for not being there yet. We also believe that we will experience more the faster we go. However, that isn't how life operates. You cannot genuinely enjoy life if you eat it quickly and without appreciating each mouthful, any more than you can genuinely enjoy a meal. While speed may help you reach more places, depth is what makes it possible to truly inhabit them. Your life turns into a slideshow that you hardly remember if it lacks depth. How can one escape this invisible race? Then, you must first acknowledge that it is a decision. For you, society won't slow down. Markets, technology, and news will all continue to move more quickly. You will never be able to catch your breath if you are waiting for the world to slow down. You must be the one to decide to leave the track. You must decide to use the moments that feed you as a yardstick for your life rather than the fictitious progress scoreboard. Indeed, that entails completely redefining what development is. If a promotion puts your health at risk, progress may require you to decline it. Even if it means less time networking, it could mean more time with your family. Redefining what progress means because it fills your spirit. It may entail engaging in a pastime that has no monetary value. Those who are still in the race will be perplexed by these decisions. They may even pass judgment on you. But keep in mind that your compass is not their confusion. Whether you are aware of your own life and able to truly experience each day rather than allowing it to flow into the next is your compass. Leaving the race does not imply giving up on your goals. It implies that you no longer allow ambition to hold you back. You can still strive, but you do it with joy rather than fear. It's similar to the difference between running because you enjoy the sensation of wind in your hair and running because you're late for an appointment. From the outside, the action may appear to be the same. Yet on the inside, there's stress and freedom. And whether you realized it or not, freedom is what you've been after all along. However, this is the harsh reality. At first, slowing down can be awkward. You see the aspects of yourself that you have been ignoring when you stop racing. You become aware of the void, the unsolved pain, and the unanswered questions. This is the reason why so many individuals continue to run. They confuse movement with purpose. But if you can tolerate that suffering, you'll find something amazing. There's a peaceful sense of enough beneath all the noise. Enough to understand that your value was never dependent on your speed, but not enough to settle. Imagine not having a race to run when you get up tomorrow. Yes, you still have tasks to complete, but there isn't a hypothetical finish line in the distance. Quit running your value is no longer dependent on reaching a destination. First, what would you notice? The way your breakfast tastes. The way your living space changes with the sun. The laughter of a friend without looking at the time. Moments become more than checkpoints when you live without the race. They become the focal point. And when you eventually realize that life has never been about getting where you're going, that change is nothing short of life-altering. There is no cosmic medal ceremony or big award at the conclusion. Living well today is the prize for living properly. This is the unspoken knowledge of people who appear comfortable without constantly pursuing their goals. They realize that life is a tapestry to be woven, not a collection of accomplishments to amass. Additionally, the most intricate tapestries are created gradually, methodically, and thread by thread. You have to weave quickly for the race. You can see the beauty in every knot and color when you are still. I'll ask you again, what's the reason behind your running? Is it because you genuinely enjoy the tempo? Or because you fear the consequences of stopping? Slowing down can be the bravest thing you can do if it's fear. Let someone else go ahead of you. Give up the scoreboard completely. Because you're ultimately racing yourself and no one else. And realizing that there was never a race in the first place is the only way to win. If you've ever observed kids playing, you'll notice something illuminating. They're not rushing. They don't play to get their playing done. They perform because the act is what matters. There isn't an unseen judge keeping time or a scoreboard. But we lose that somewhere in the process. We start to view life as a set of chores to accomplish rather than as a place to live. We refer to this as maturity. But maybe it's only a forgetting that the living are what make life worthwhile. Yes, kids run, but they do it for the fun of it, not to cross a fictitious finish line. Ironically, a lot of us strive so hard for the future that we fail to see the very goal for which we are striving. When we arrive, we want to find calm, contentment, and rest. But as soon as there comes another there, and another takes its place. The race never happened. Therefore, the finish line continues to move. It was a mental habit. They don't grasp that things rarely settle, which is why you hear people remark, "I'll slow down when things settle." The mind is constantly coming up with fresh excuses to keep running. This raises the question of what happens when you leave the race if it is an illusion. What happens if you start to notice details that you previously couldn't see? The sound of rain hitting the roof, the sensation of air coming into and going out of your body, or the minute changes in a friend's voice tone. You are too focused on the next lap to see these things, even though they were constantly there. And your soul is subtly fed by these minutiae rather than the milestones. The problem is this. This slowing down will not be pleasant to your ego. The ego lives on competition, superiority, and advancement. Your ego will not like this. The truth is that if you're constantly running, you'll miss your life. It will whisper, if you stop, you'll fall behind. You'll be forgotten. You'll miss your chance. Your current situation is the only one worth taking. And when you leave the present for a race that doesn't exist, you're the only one who can take that away from you. Living on your own terms means eschewing the competition. It's to acknowledge that the most valuable aspects of life, love, friendship, joy, and creativity cannot be hurried, planned, or accelerated. Consider love. It would crumble under the pressure of your haste if you attempted to rush it. Consider art. It would lose its attractiveness if you pushed it too aggressively. So why do we believe that life can be crammed into a limited amount of time? Why do we act as though success is correlated with speed? Because the story is a trap. We have been convinced that our lives will be better the sooner we get there. This story, however, is a trap. It never stops us from feeling that we're not ready, adequate, or whole yet. Another truth emerges when you cease to believe the story. You were never lacking anything in the first place. To be entire, you didn't have to win anything. To be worthy, you didn't have to outrun anyone. This explains why the smartest people seem to move more slowly. Not because they are unambitious, but rather because they have lost faith in the race. They know something that most runners never do. Every finish line is actually a starting line that has been camouflaged. Another one is waiting when you pass it. You then ask yourself, why not enjoy the steps rather than chasing the end if this never ends? Life isn't always easy. It is spiraling. You keep coming back to the same facts from different perspectives. Old places continue to reveal new depths to you. And giving up on attempting to win, it is the only way to enjoy that spiral. The preoccupation with continuous improvement starts to fade when you recognize this. I should caution you, though, that leaving the race won't make life ideal. You will still encounter difficulties, setbacks, and disappointments. The distinction is that they won't feel like failures. There would be no behind to fall into if there were no race. Only the path, with all its turns, stops, and shocks, is visible. You begin to pay attention to the beat of your own life and cease comparing yourself to the clock. And you discover something uncommon in our world in that rhythm. Real peace. Peace does not imply that nothing occurs. It implies that you no longer use every experience as an opportunity to evaluate your value. You're promoted well. Losing a job might also be beneficial because it could lead to new opportunities. It's amazing how you fall in love. Even if you experience heartbreak, it's all part of the dance. You stop categorizing life into success and failure when you quit racing. Everything turns into experience. Everything comes to life, and you could never get that bit from the race. Maybe the true issue is, what am I running from? Rather than, how do I get ahead? You might find the bravery to slow down if you can honestly answer the question, what am I running from? This isn't because you've lost the urge to grow, but rather because you've remembered that growth doesn't necessarily demand motion. Sometimes you have to be still. In a society that is fixated on speed, stopping can occasionally be the most radical thing you can do. There's another thing that occurs when you stop running. You might seem incomprehensible to those who are still racing. They may accuse you of being unrealistic, lazy, or unmotivated. They will attempt to persuade you that life would abandon you if you slowed down. In actuality, though, nobody is left behind by life. There isn't a bus that leaves you standing at the stop. It's the air you breathe, the ground beneath your feet, and the present. What you're already a part of cannot abandon you. If anything, the incessant running, rather than the slowing down, is what makes you miss life. And you may find that you're already in the right place when you stop. This does not imply that you will not have aspirations or ambitions. It indicates that you won't trust them enough to give up the gift for them. You will strive after them, but without the fear of being pursued or the belief that your value rests on capturing them. Exiting the race is, in many respects, a trust gesture. You believe you don't have to live life to the fullest right away. Even if you aren't pushing life forward every second, you have faith that it will still unfold. Passivity is not the same as trust. It entails letting go of the misconception that worth is correlated with speed. It entails realizing that your presence is more important than your speed, and you start to live more easily in that place of trust. To be easy is not to be lazy. It's the serenity of knowing that no one, not even oneself, is in competition with them. Imagine being calm when you get up and not feeling like you're already running late for your own life. Imagine carrying out your necessary tasks without the incessant clamor of more, faster, better. This does not diminish your effectiveness. It brings you closer together. You no longer waste your time pursuing numerous objectives at once. You focus on the important things and enjoy the journey. It's similar to caring for a garden. Shouting at the flowers won't make them bloom sooner. You water the plants, take care of the soil, and let time do its thing. You would kill the buds if you attempted to pull them open too soon. It is the same with your own life. The most exquisite aspects of it develop in due time. And your role is to be there when things happen, not to speed them up. Therefore, when the temptation to run strikes and you sense the restless pull toward the next thing, stop and consider whether you are running for a purpose or merely to avoid feeling motionless. Sometimes you need the silence the most. It makes room for clarity to surface. Its silence enables you to hear yourself once more over the cacophony of expectations and deadlines. And in that clarity, you may discover that the object of your pursuit was always there by your side. Not racing gives you a sense of freedom, the ability to choose the long route home, to build something slowly and clumsily because you enjoy it, to spend hours talking with a buddy without checking the time. The world might not give you the same rewards for these things as it does for productivity and speed. However, the act itself contains the reward. It's the calm, profound fulfillment that comes from truly enjoying your life rather than just getting by. This brings us to the last dilemma. When you stop running, you frequently find yourself where you've always wanted to be, except without the fatigue and emptiness. Opportunities arise, connections grow, and experiences emerge because you were receptive to them rather than because you pushed them. You were never asked to run by life. It was requesting your attention. Take note of how your window lets in the morning light. Take note of the laughs during a discussion. Take note of the silent times when, for no apparent reason, you feel totally at peace. Your progress is not impeded by these occasions. The point of it is them. You will no longer feel the need to gauge your value by speed if you can live your life as a participant in each moment rather than as a runner in a race. And you'll find something much more valuable in its stead. The knowledge that your life was never meant to be a contest in the first place. You don't have to advance. Nothing needs to be proven by you. You don't have to prevail. You just need to be present in the one real moment you've ever experienced. And you might suddenly realize that you were never behind in that very moment. You were always in the right place at the right time.